Hey guys, it's Brett Sikora. Welcome back to our podcast. Today we have a special guest, Omar Subhi, who's the director of sales for Align, for this whole movement, and really geeks out on the process, the data behind moving an agent forward to make sure that they're selling the most amount of homes in a consistent way too. Like, we want to make sure that you don't have ebbs and flows in your income. And from what you've been monitoring, working with Nate Wolf and Jen Schiff and the behind the scenes, like, we're catching things as simple as, do you log into your follow-up loss account daily?
Right. That's
a lead indicator on whether or not you're going to have income in the next 90 days. So tell us a little bit about, I know you have a corporate sales background. It seems to have had made the transition very easy for you to make money as a realtor from day one. But then because of that background, you've really focused on that process, and you don't understand, which I feel like a lot of brokers and team leaders are in that same boat. Why wouldn't a realtor want to follow up with a lead and make money?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest challenge, is just taking a look at the data from day to day and looking at the bigger pictures. Like, okay, are you logging in to Follow Up Boss? And if you're not, why not? Right? Are you making your phone calls? A lot of times you see agents coming into this business and fail very quickly, and the answer is pretty simple. It's like, you're not putting in the day-to-day activities. You're not treating this job as your own business.
Right.
And I think you owe that to yourself. You owe that to the team that you're on, if you're on a team, to make those calls every single day and stay in front of people, and just have as many conversations as possible to find those deals, your next deal, your deal that may not come in this year, the deal that may come in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, so on and so forth. So that's the stuff that I like to look at every day, is just seeing what people are doing with their days.
Right.
So if you have a new agent that's coming into the business that wants to be successful, and in the first week they're making 5 calls, it's like, okay, let's have a conversation. 5 calls, that's fine, it's a great start, but what did you do with the rest of your time to find your clients, where your business is coming from?
I feel like I get, and I'm sure you hear this often from me, but I'll get stuff, I always say, let's rock and roll, or I always say this, or I'm really driving home one thing, like the simplicity of this business is something that I'm really focused on right now. But I remember 2 years ago when I was heavier on the coaching side of things, is when I was the director of sales, and me and Eric Goldfarb were yin and yang and kind of doing that thing. I used to always say to agents, if you're a brand new licensed agent, take out your cell phone and pull up every single contact in it and call through every single one and talk about how you have your real estate license now, how you've joined this team. We would give them the script and everything like that. And then I'd say, if you can't do that, or if that makes you shudder right now, leave the business.
Yeah.
Before you even start.
And it's pretty simple nowadays with the iPhones and everything and technology that we have. I mean, you can literally just export everything from your phone, upload it into a list on the CRM, and by the lead source that you're sourcing it by, okay, here's all my sphere of influence. If you want to schedule a day out of the week, every single week, of just sphere of influence for follow-ups, super simple to do. Just create a filter on it. Here's my sphere of influence. Here's my last call with my sphere of influence. Here's my last call with Brett. What did I say to Brett? And how am I going to carry that conversation and move it to the next level? So it's gotten pretty easy. I mean, the business is really not that difficult. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with the phones and making those phone calls, because those phone calls are going to make you a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's not text, it's not emails. I mean, you can do that as follow-ups and to check in from here, in time to time. But I think a text is good for, hey, I'm running 5 minutes late.
Yep.
That's the purpose of a text.
Reminder.
And I feel like we're in that world where people are like, okay, well, people are, Gen Z or Gen or millennials, like, people want text right away. And I get that, I understand that, but you can set appointments through text, but then have a pre-qualifying conversation, or you can call somebody and follow up and leave them a voicemail and just check in. The phone call with the tonality can go so much further when you hear certain things, whereas it's very easy to get shut down via text message. With what's happening in the world right now with real estate, I mean, Mike Ferry always had the simplicity aspect of things. It's picking up the phone, you're calling, here's your script, here's that.
It's the basics.
And I find that a lot of the Mike Ferry agents are really thriving right now because they're not distracted by all of that noise. And then you have the Tom Ferry, and I love Tom Ferry. You have the Tom Ferries of the world, who there's a million different things you can do. And what happens is the agents watch, I don't know, a podcast or a vlog on something that Tom is talking about, and then they get analysis paralysis, where one of the first things you touched on is sphere of influence and making those calls around that. sphere is such an important thing. These people know you, they trust you, they like you anyway. We want to make sure that you can have those conversations. And Chris, you were talking about it yesterday too, around, I just never had that issue with picking up the phone. It's about adding value to the consumer on the other end.
Right.
For us, we want to take that analysis paralysis away, and we want to simplify the aspect of like, who are you going to call today? Is it going to be a sphere day? Is it going to be a for sale by owner day? Are you going to do an open house and door knock through? We want to make sure that everything is dumbed down so that it's just a contact sport and you're having conversations, and the rest of it, you have the tools of the objection handling, you have the Swiss Army knife, so that if somebody says to you, hey, I really like this investment property, never plan to sell it, that to then say, great, if that's working really well, would you consider buying more?
Right.
Like taking it beyond what that initial, exactly. Yeah. Or, hey, I know that, I have a great interest rate right now. I'm not crazy at this home. We'd consider holding it, but we don't want to sell to buy the next one. Would you consider holding on to it, doing a HELOC for the down payment? You still keep that first great rate, but then you can go buy your next home. Having conversations like that, so that once you're taking action, your conversion gets better and better and better. And then you get to the point where, somebody like yourself, you can run a whole sales organization that's doing over 200 million a year and still sell 20 million in real estate because you're so systemized in the way that you go about it.
Yeah. The systems that we have in place right now, you can literally bring in anyone with little to no experience. If you follow the blueprint with what you're telling them to do, you're going to make money.
Right.
There's no question about it. It's just a matter of picking up the phone, making those phone calls, and like you said, having those meaningful conversations, building those relationships. And that's the stuff that we coach on too, from day in, day out. You've got Eric Eckhart that's running his prospecting boot camp every Monday. You've got Brant, who's running his training on how to train agents on having those meaningful conversations and what's happening with the world today. I think the thing that a lot of agents lack right now is just educating themselves to be able to educate their clients.
Right.
If you're able to educate yourself on exactly what's happening in the world and delivering that message in an effective way to the client, you're going to be able to control that client from point A to point Z with what they're looking to accomplish.
Right.
And not having to be pushy about that process in having, I like using the term commission breath. Don't think about the commission. Just think about, how am I going to be able to help that client get to the point that they're trying to get at? And the rest will come.
Right.
You're going to make money along the way just by helping them.
Right.
But if you have that mindset of, okay, I'm going to help people accomplish what they're looking to accomplish, the tools are there. You just have to figure out a way of filling those gaps within your business or your whatever it is that you're lacking, and we have the tools to help you fill those gaps. Once you fill those gaps, your business is going to take off. So that's the whole process behind it. That's the stuff that I like to geek out on.
Yeah, and I feel like too, the way we have it set up, and you touched on it, where we have James Oliver there for your first 5 transactions to make sure that whether you're an experienced agent or you're a brand new agent, you don't fumble. There's no issues there. We have you overseeing the whole thing. We have the pod leaders. We have Eric Eckhart tied into more of the boot camp and like lead gen aspect of things. Brant Levine, like, funny thing about him is his goal and like his purpose is to simplify real estate in a way that you have the tools and resources, or so that his 73-year-old mother-in-law could sell a home in the first 90 days. Like, we don't want to talk about it in a super complex way. With Daryl Bailey, I was just talking to, that guy, he can get very complex. He knows so much about the investment world that's something that, and he does a great job of simplifying things too, but it could scare off an agent if you get too detailed in that whole thing. So for us, it's, you have the Slack channel to ask a million questions within the organization with people who have, hundreds of deals of experience to make sure that they can answer how to deal doctor that scenario or hop on a call if need be. Anthony Barone was talking about a condo conversion yesterday, and I've been through a bunch of them. And what does that look like? So I think that with the agents, it's like, it's action-based, it's following a system, but it's having those talking points. It's being able to get the answer to any question that they may have. Eric was talking about that yesterday on that Zoom call. Is I might not know, but I'm gonna go find out.
Yeah, and to your point, like something as simple as a Slack channel, I love a tool like that because you have someone coming in with someone like Kevin, for example, coming in with a scenario that he just ran through and asking one specific question about it or giving his feedback on how he handled it. That exact situation is probably going to happen to you at some point in time in your real estate career. And if you're paying enough attention to it and engaging and actually reading what the people are saying or the agents that we have on the team are saying on those channels, you're going to be able to reference that back on top of your head. If you're, say, I don't know, you might be meeting with a client and that comes up as a question. It's like, okay, I remember exactly that scenario that Kevin had 2 years ago. You may not remember it exactly, but you're at least going to have an idea to be able to talk about it with some substance rather than saying, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So those are just things that it's just, to me, the way I look at it is if you have these things available to you as an agent day to day, that's ammo in your pocket that you're going to be able to use with your clients.
Yeah. And yeah, as you're talking about tools and everything like that too, do you want to touch on, it really came about because of you, but the luxury division that we're building out right now that we have the new website launching and
which
whatnot.
I'm super excited about. That's going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah. So tell us about, I think it was you were the one who was exploring that website originally, right?
Yeah. So I started looking into it. It honestly started popping on my Instagram, and I always, I mean, I'll talk about it briefly, but I've always had, the way I think about things is I'm trying to figure out what the next best thing is before it even happens.
Right.
So to me, it kept popping up, and I'm like, I'm going on those websites. I'm going on Luxury Presence. I'm going on Luxury Presence websites that they've built, and I'm like, this product looks freaking awesome. It's like the Apple of real estate, you know, and who doesn't like Apple and the functionality of it and whatnot. So I remember, I think we had one demo with them, and we were like, this is it. This is what we need. And I think that's going to be a huge tool for every agent that we have on the team to build our business. I mean, the stuff that we're building with it between web SEO and their custom websites, custom CMAs, and everything in between is just going to be that next level that we've been looking for. Yeah,
no, I think that it's something that's like so crystal clear that we're looking to be the best sales training out there. We're looking to have the best websites available. I mean, we looked at Lucid's website, we looked at Apple, and it's Lucid, Apple, and Rolex had a baby, and that's what our new website is. It's so smooth. It's like an experience. It's very satisfying for me to go scroll through it.
And that's the thing, to your point, is like the experience of, okay, I'm on this website, I don't need to leave it. Everything that I'm going to need as a buyer, seller, investor, whatever the case may be, is going to be in there.
Right.
So that's what we're building right now.
Yeah, and then having, Chris Pareda, director of PR on that side of things, Jen Koch on the marketing front, like transaction management, JJ Trotter, Darren Hennessy, Ann Keller, like what we've really done is created the best of the best in everything that a realtor could want, in my opinion. And that's what Align's all about. I mean, that's the launch of this. It's are you where you want to be in the world of real estate? Yep. Do you have the best tools and resources available for you? Do you want to be a team? Do you want to be an individual? Kind of either way. Do you want to build your own team? We can help solve that problem, and we want to make sure that you get to where you want to go in less time.
Yeah, I mean, the process is, again, like you said, from transactions to ops to marketing, everything is, we're trying to create an ecosystem where everything is talking to each other. So the agent experience, they come in, they have one place, whether it's the intranet or whether it's a CRM, where they click one button and the rest is getting handled for them. Why that's important for an agent, I think a lot of agents that are top producers would appreciate this, is I'm freeing up your time to go do your income producing activities, which is going back to making your phone calls, going to networking events, whatever the case that may be for you. That's a goal behind it.
Yeah, I see a lot of times, and like we have Jen Schiff, Juliana, Haley building on the ops side of things, and I see a lot of times, agents or broker owners will reach out to me and they're like, hey, what's your onboarding process, or what's this? And I'm like, do you mean training the agent, or do you mean actually getting email set up and all of that stuff?
Yep.
And they're like, both. Where do I start? And I'm like, well, why don't you just plug into our umbrella?
Yeah.
We have, Haley, Jen, and Juliana, when you onboard an agent, they're literally taking everything soup to nuts. Haley's on the phone. They're getting them licensed with EXP. It's a super smooth process. And then hand it off to the point where they land in Eric Eckhart's lap, and you're in a boot camp and you're ready to go. So if we can onboard you in a day or two, and then you're right there, you know where everything is quickly, and now we're running. I see so many people, and we were guilty of this too, where certain things would get missed along the way, and we'd be down the road and realize that they're not even in the Slack channel, and they've been in our organization for 90 days and they don't even know Slack exists. So now we have a full checklist. We run through everything. And what's amazing to me is the amount of automation that's behind that. I go into the Zapier account every now and then.
It's crazy.
It blows my mind how many Zaps Juliana has. If Zapier goes out of business, I think I go out of business.
Yep.
It would be an organizational nightmare. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to get on, kind of talk a little bit about what we're doing and how, we're seeing the organization change. We're seeing new names show up there. Monique, I got to shout out Monique because newly licensed in March or April. Ralph DeBugnera with Cardinal Financial connected us to her. And I believe July, she put 5 homes under contract. Yeah. August, she put 3. And then I just see her name all the time, so I've stopped counting at this point.
She's consistently producing $1 million+ every month, and it's no surprise. I mean, her activity, you look at her activity, it's always at the top of the charts. Right. So going back to what we first started with, like making those phone calls, I don't know what she's doing from day to day, but if I ask her, I bet you anything, she's probably making phone calls in between showings because her call volume is just that insane with the appointment that she's going on. So shout out Monique. But that's really what it's going to take to be successful in this business. And one thing I'll touch on, I think a lot of people lost sight of going back to the basics. And Bill Pipes always mentioned this. Great coach, great mentor. And he said the skilled agents are the ones that are going to survive any market. And we had our call with Zillow yesterday, and he's like, you guys are not concerned about this market? And we're like, no, we're not concerned about this market because we can get our agents to go back to the basics and just picking up the phone and making phone calls, and you're going to make a lot of money. So at the end of the day, it's just to wrap this up, it's getting back to the basics is as simple as picking up the phone calls and just connecting with people and having that human element of talking to someone rather than text message or email, which how many times you get text messages like, wow, I'm not even going to respond, or you get an email, may not respond, but a phone call, if you pick up, you're going to have a meaningful conversation. Yeah.
And we're very focused on, if an agent's already selling 10 homes per year and they want to sell 20, 30, our system's really built out for, a 20 unit per year producer, but is just burning the candle at both ends. Or they sold 30 homes last year and then are only selling 18 this year. We can really go in and fix those problems. But if you look at Monique, for instance, it's a new agent calling old leads, the old leads that people don't want. They're just sitting in ponds.
Yep.
And she'll do $12-15 million year one.
Yep.
Like if we can get a new agent to do that, imagine what we can get an agent to do if they're already selling 20, 30, 40 homes per year. And that's really where, I think what we're doing is of a huge value. We're very built out to help leverage that agent, free up their time, and make sure that, again, they get to where they want to go in less time.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that too is, data is super important and all that. That's the reason why we use Follow Boss to track appointments, track phone calls, activities, whatever the case it may be that we're tracking. We're not tracking it to say, okay, what exactly are you doing with your time? Obviously that's important, but to take it to the next level, for example, with what you're talking about, you get an agent that's producing $30 million this year and they want to grow their business to $45 million next year, whatever the number may be. How are you going to reverse engineer that and figure out where you've spent your time and what made you the most money?
Yep.
It might be one simple thing, as you might be really good at prospecting or might be really good at client referrals.
Yep.
That's something that's super easy to look at if you have the data and say, okay, well, you were really good at your sphere last year or referrals. Let's double down on that and spend more time on that. And that alone is going to generate you X amount.
Yep.
But without the data, there's really no way for you to figure out how you're going to take the business to the next level. And I tried this out on myself before I tried it with anyone else. And I did a trial on it last year, and I said, I want to sell every single home this year and have an average price point of $1 million plus.
Right.
How did I do that? I just went back and looked at my lead sources, where those $1 million plus homes were coming from, doubled down on that, and here I am.
Yep.
I'm not talking about myself. I'm just using it as an example of how to use the data to enhance your business.
Yep. And just having that awareness around it. And I think that's what we really force the agents to do is, you know, somebody's coming to us where they sold 20 Sphere, but then all of a sudden they want leads or they want this or that. And I'm like, why don't I just show you how to sell 40 Sphere?
Yeah.
You know,
It's sometimes it's as simple as that. It's just looking at what you're good at. And if you can't track it, you're never really going to know what you're good at.
Right.
There's no way of telling.
And that's too. So, you know, I guess that's a good way to wrap it up. But if you're an agent that's already selling 20 homes, 30 homes per year, and you want to figure out how to sell 60, 70, 80 while working less, which is super important. Eric Goldfarb's does a dream job of, you know, I tell him be in New Jersey as little as possible while doing 20 plus million per year. Yep. But if you're an agent and you want to sell more homes, you want to sell it, you know, in an easier way, definitely reach out to us. And what we'll do is just put together a free consultation and audit where your business is coming from and figure out, you know, here's your business plan, and whether or not you decide to plug into us at the end of it is entirely up to you.
Right. It's simple as that.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Brett.